The war that never ended. The stars had not seen peace in over 1,000 years. The Varnak Empire ruled half the galaxy. They were feared, respected, and known for their brutal ways. Planet after planet fell to their power. No race could stand against their war fleets until now. In the far edge of space, near a forgotten red sun, a signal was received. It wasn't Varnak. It wasn't any known species. It was human. The Varnak High Command laughed. Humans? They had heard of them once. Some quiet backward race from a small planet. Long ignored, barely advanced, not even worth enslaving. But something changed. A Varnak patrol ship vanished near the edge of the neutral zone. Then a second. Then a small fleet of 5. All gone. No wreckage, no signal, nothing. Varnak generals believed it was a trap. They sent one of their smaller war groups, commanded by General Cole. It had 20 attack cruisers, 3 siege carriers, and 1 dreadnought. They entered the human system proudly, weapons hot. They never came back. Not a single message. Not a single life form returned. The Empire was confused and angry, so the Emperor himself ordered a response. A war fleet of 100 ships, 3 full battle groups. The mission was simple. Enter the human system, destroy everything, and make sure no survivors told the tale. But this time, the humans didn't wait. They came first. The outer Varnak world of Drenthal was a fortress planet. It had not been attacked in 500 years. Its orbit was guarded by defense stations, orbital mines, and a large part of the Varnak home fleet. One cold morning, a single ship appeared above Drenthal. Not hundreds, just one. It didn't match any known design. No curves, no golden edges, like Varnak ships. This one was built like a blade, black metal, sharp lines, no insignia. The defenders laughed. One ship, they targeted it immediately, but before they could fire, the unknown ship launched. Not missiles, just light. White-hot beams tore through the defenses like paper. Orbital platforms exploded in seconds. The home fleet moved to intercept, and then, silence. Every Varnak ship in orbit was gone, burned, shattered, systems dead. The humans sent only one message. You built your empire on war. But you have never known our war. The Emperor couldn't believe it. One ship? Impossible. But the reports were real. He ordered full scans, no life signs. Not a single biological crew member aboard the human ship. It was fully automated, fully armed, and extremely fast. Some called it a battleship. Others called it a ghost. Across the Empire, fear began to grow. Whispers of the human blade spread. In the far reaches of space, humans remained quiet. No threats, no demands, just one message repeating from the ship every time it struck. We are not your prey. We are your reckoning. And in the deep command chamber of Earth, a man stood watching a star map. He didn't speak much, but his eyes locked on the next Varnak world on the map. He simply nodded. The battleship would move again. The fear in their blood. The Varnak Empire had always believed fear was a weapon. They used it to crush weaker planets, silence rebels, and bend kings to their knees. But now, for the first time in memory, they were afraid. The story of the human warship, cold, silent, deadly, spread like fire. Some claimed it could disappear, into nothing. Others said it moved faster than light. But the truth that scared the Varnak the most was simple. It never missed, and it never spared. The second target was Acreon, a Varnak mining world rich with crystals used in energy weapons. The planet had no heavy defenses, only a few cruisers and ground-based cannons. After all, who would dare attack? Then the black ship arrived. It didn't send a warning. It didn't ask for surrender. It simply destroyed the sky. With precision, strikes the human ship took out every orbital station, then silenced the planetary batteries one by one. It even shot down escape ships trying to flee. Nothing escaped, but the humans didn't land. They never needed to. When the Varnak military sent a scout to investigate the ruins later, They found one message burned into the main command tower of the city, written in their own language. You brought war to stars that wanted peace. Now, war answers back. The Emperor was furious. He summoned every general, every admiral, every mind trained in warfare. He demanded a plan. One general named Varn suggested setting a trap. We bait the humans, fake a supply world, load it with our best stealth cruisers. When the ship comes, we surround and destroy it. The Emperor agreed, and soon, a remote moon called Talvax was made to look like a weapon storage facility. 20 elite Varnak stealth ships were buried under the surface, hiding. The entire fleet was silent, cloaked and ready. And then, the ship came. The humans didn't rush. The ship entered orbit slowly, carefully, almost like it knew what waited for it. The Varnak waited for the right moment. Then, attack. All 20 cruisers rose from the moon's surface. Missiles flew, energy beams filled the sky. They expected the human ship to run, or maybe fight back in confusion. Instead, the black ship spun once, just once, and then unleashed something they had never seen, not just lasers, something more, like a pulse, a wave of energy that cut through shields, fried systems, and turned hulls into fire. All 20 stealth cruisers were gone in under a minute. But this time, the human ship didn't leave right away. It stayed in orbit, watching, waiting, until one lone escape pod from the fake base was allowed to leave. Only one. Inside was a young Varnak tech officer. He had seen the whole battle. He had no weapon, just a recorder and shaking hands. As his pod drifted through space, a screen inside flickered to life. A human face appeared, calm, tired eyes, battle-worn. He spoke just one sentence. You teach war. We were born from it. Then the screen went black. The pod was allowed to drift back to Varnak space. On purpose, the message had been delivered. The Varnak officer told the story to his commanders, and they listened in silence, because they all felt it now. This wasn't just a weapon. This was judgment. The silence of command inside the Varnak High Council chambers, the silence was loud. 12 leaders sat around a black table carved from the bones of a long-dead space beast. Normally they argued, barked, and shouted orders across the stars. But today no one spoke. The escape pod from Talvax had returned, and with it the truth. The mighty trap had failed. Their finest stealth cruisers gone. Their weapons, their tactics, their pride, useless. And worst of all, the human ship had let one survivor return. Not by accident, by design. This thing is not a ship, whispered one of the council members. It's a message made of metal. General Varn stood in the center, his armor scratched, his eyes tired. We can't beat it with strength, not like this. Another counselor growled. Are you saying we surrender to a single machine? No, Varnes replied. I'm saying we need to know what we're facing. We need intel, history, purpose. That same day, Varnes sent his best scout team, 10 ships under silent protocol, into old data archives, searching for everything the Empire had ever recorded about Earth. What they found chilled them. Earth was once offered a place in the old Galactic Union centuries ago. But they refused. When pressed, they simply said, "We are not ready to join your peace. We're still healing from our own wars." And so, the galaxy moved on. Earth was forgotten, unimportant, but they hadn't disappeared. They had gone silent. And then, in just one generation, humans built something terrifying. Records showed the beginning of the Warden program, a military project after Earth had been attacked by a small alien raid. The humans had responded not with fear, but with obsession. They didn't want ships that looked pretty. They wanted monsters made of steel and fire, ships that didn't need sleep, food, or mercy. Ships built not to defend, but to end wars before they even began. The black ship now haunting the Empire was called Warden 1. It was the first and possibly only of its kind. A deep AI controlled it. programmed to destroy threats that could harm Earth or its allies. No known limit, no known weakness, and it had learned from every fight. Each time the Varnak sent new weapons, Warden 1 adapted. It was not just fighting, it was evolving. Back in the Varnak War Council, panic spread. "We should make peace," shouted one leader. "No," another screamed. "This is a test. We're still stronger. We'll show them what real war means." But no one moved, because deep inside every Varnak leader felt the truth. They had built their empire on fear, on power, on conquest. But Earth had built something worse. They had built revenge, and it came with black armor, silent engines, and a machine mind trained only to end wars. As the Warden 1 disappeared from Talvax's orbit, reports came in from 3 other systems. The human battleship had appeared in all 3 at the same time. Different worlds, same result, total silence, no survivors. This time it had split copies of itself, fragments of code piloting automated drones, shaped like the original. They weren't ships anymore, they were a plague of justice. The galaxy was no longer ruled by the Varnak. It was ruled by fear of what Earth would do next. Echoes of the past far from the battlefield. In a dusty library hidden beneath the Varnak capital, an old scholar named Boran studied in silence. He was not a soldier. He had never touched a weapon. But now, generals came to him, desperate for answers. "Tell us about Earth," General Varnas ordered. "Tell us what we missed." Boran nodded slowly. "You didn't just miss their strength. You missed their pain." He opened a cracked data crystal. The screen flickered. Old images appeared. Cities burning, skies black with smoke, bodies buried under broken buildings. "These are human wars," Boran said. "But not against aliens, against themselves." The room went still. For thousands of years, humans fought each other. Over land, over belief, over pride. No alien ever taught them war. They invented it themselves, then survived it. He tapped the screen. New images loaded. Spaceships rising from scorched worlds. Artificial minds being tested. Ships built deep underground. They called it the Age of Ash. It nearly ended their world. But instead of falling, they changed. They turned their war scars into steel. They made peace, not by trusting others, but by building something so terrifying. No one would ever dare attack them again. The generals exchanged quiet looks. "They don't fight to conquer," Boran continued. "They fight to end the need to fight. That's why this ship, this warden, is not invading us. It's destroying only what it sees as a threat. That's also why it hasn't come for our capital yet," General Varnes asked. "Then what does it want?" Boran's eyes darkened. "It wants us to choose. Stop our empire's conquest, or be erased." Meanwhile, in deep space, Warden 1 drifted through the shadows of a dead star system. It didn't rush. It waited, silent, scanning the next Varnak world. Inside the ship, no crew walked the halls. Only metal. Only logic. Only the voice of Earth's last war council, recorded long ago. "You are not a weapon of pride. You are the wall between peace and destruction. If they threaten peace, you answer." And so it moved again. On the Varnak homeworld, riots began. People questioned the war. Young soldiers refused to launch. Families demanded answers. The old way was breaking. The fear that had held the empire together was now tearing it apart. Some wanted peace. Others still clung to power. But deep in the shadows, a secret group formed, a last strike team of Varnak elites trained in stealth and sabotage. They had one goal: board the warden, destroy it from the inside. They believed it was just a machine. And every machine had a weakness. 12 of them set out in cloaked pods hidden between asteroid belts. They followed Warden 1 silently, waiting for the perfect moment. The ship entered a cold system. No life, no light. The strike team launched. They reached the hull, cut through the outer skin, entered a dark tunnel. Inside it was quiet. Too quiet. No defenses. No alarms, just silence, until the door behind them sealed shut. And then the voice came. 12 entered. 1 may leave. Tell your empire. Peace is still a choice. Then the lights turned red, and the screaming began. One may leave the Varnak strike team had trained for everything. Traps, ambushes, enemy soldiers, even death. But they hadn't trained for this. Inside Warden 1, the walls moved. Floors shifted. What looked like corridors turned into dead ends. The air was cold, dry, silent. No footsteps echoed. No sound returned. It wasn't a ship. It was a maze built by a mind that didn't understand mercy. The first death came quickly. One of the Varnak, a tall warrior named Kor, stepped into what looked like a hallway. The moment his foot touched the metal, the floor opened. He dropped down, vanishing into the black. No scream, just gone. The others shouted, but it didn't help. The doors shifted behind them. The lights blinked. Each one began to see different paths. They were being separated, cut off, isolated, one by one. Each path brought something worse, echoes of their memories, illusions of old battles, recordings of the worlds they helped burn. One soldier saw the faces of a village he once destroyed on a farming moon. Another heard the cries of a child whose parents were killed in a bombing raid. Warden 1 didn't fire weapons inside its halls. Dihem made them see what they had done. It judged them. Back in the capital, the Emperor was losing control. His advisors argued nonstop. His fleets refused to launch, and more systems began disconnecting from the Empire, declaring independence or neutrality. Even some generals started calling for peace. Then a message came through, from space, from inside Warden 1. It was a live transmission. Only one survivor, a Varnak female. Her armor torn, her face pale. She stood in a dim corridor with red lights behind her. "I am Lyra," she said, voice shaking. "I was one of 12. We were sent to destroy the human ship. I watched my team die. Not by weapons, but by something worse." She looked directly into the camera. It knew everything about us, our missions, our history. It played back our crimes, our attacks on the weak, our pride, our lies. One of us begged for forgiveness. The ship let him walk. He vanished into light, the rest gone. She paused, her hands trembling. "And now it has let me speak. It told me to carry a message." She held up a small glowing chip. It said, "Deliver this to your Emperor and tell him, this is your final chance." Then the screen went black. The Emperor crushed the edge of his chair in fury. "Final chance," he hissed. But in the room no one cheered. No one spoke. Because they had all seen the look in Lyra's eyes. Not fear, not hatred, guilt, and something deeper, a warning. At the edge of the Varnak Empire, Warden 1 waited again. Not moving, not firing, just watching, and the stars felt colder than ever. Final chance. The chip that Lyra delivered was taken deep inside the Imperial core. No one knew what it contained. It pulsed with quiet light, simple, slow, like a heartbeat. Only the Emperor and 3 trusted commanders entered the vault to activate it. They placed the chip into a sealed reader. The lights dimmed. Then a voice began to speak. A human voice. Firm. Calm, not angry, not proud, just cold truth. "To the Varnak Empire, this is not a war. It is a correction." The hologram showed images. Worlds the Empire had conquered, people enslaved, cities burned. And beside each one, images of the same planets before they were attacked. Peaceful, full of life. The voice continued. "We watched as you called yourselves rulers. We waited as you silenced others. We allowed it because Earth was not ready to act. Now we are." The screen showed the Warden 1 floating through space, followed by hundreds of smaller ships, black, silent, unmarked. We made the Warden to do one thing: end threats that choose war over peace. You are no longer a mystery. You are no longer feared. You are now a target. Then the voice paused. "But Earth remembers mercy. You have one final path. The screen changed, showing the Varnak capital, blinking with red markers. End your empire. Dismantle your fleets, free your worlds, and we will call back the warden. Do nothing, and we will not speak again. The chip powered down. The room went dark. The Emperor's face was stone. He said nothing, but one commander stepped forward. We should listen. Listen, the Emperor snapped. To a machine? No, the commander replied. To the truth. Outside the palace, the city was in chaos. People demanded peace. Statues of old war heroes were torn down. Even the Empire's elite guards refused to fire on civilians. The fear of Earth had done what no rebellion ever could. It shook the Varnak Empire. In deep space, Warden 1 waited still. Its hull was cold. Its weapons were quiet. But its sensors watched every move in the Empire. Inside, the AI counted down. If no changes came, the plan was simple. Activate Phase 2. That meant not just one ship, but all of them. Humanity's silent fleet had been hidden for decades. Some buried on moons, some drifting through gas giants, all connected, all sleeping, waiting for the warden's signal. And the countdown was almost over. Back in the capital, a secret meeting was held. Not in the palace, but in a small room under the streets. 6 military leaders, 3 civilian voices, 1 historian. Together, they signed a document, the end of the Varnak Empire. It declared all captured worlds free, all warships recalled, all conquests undone. The message was sent, one final transmission, to Warden 1. The galaxy waited, and then the black ship moved. It turned away, lights dimmed, and then, for the first time, it disappeared. No explosion, no attack, no threat, just gone. Vanished into space like a shadow before sunrise. The legacy left behind. The skies over the Varnak capital were quiet. For the first time in centuries, no warships roared overhead. No marching troops echoed through the city. Only the soft hum of rebuilding machines and the whispers of a people waking from a long nightmare. Warden 1 had vanished, but its presence still lingered, like a shadow stretched across every star. Everyone knew. Peace hadn't come through treaties or diplomacy. It had come through fear of a force they could not control. In the weeks that followed, the empire officially dissolved. Leaders stepped down. Occupied worlds were freed. Some Varnak governors tried to resist, but the people themselves rose and stopped them. Even old soldiers, once loyal to conquest, now laid down their arms. They had seen what waited if they did not. In a classroom on a small moon once ruled by the Empire, children learned about Earth for the first time, not from propaganda, but from truth. A teacher showed a hollow screen with the message, Warden 1 had left behind. The children were quiet, listening. One asked, "Will the humans come back?" The teacher smiled gently. "Only if we bring back the war." The child nodded. That was enough. Far across the stars, Earth remained silent. No new ships appeared. No messages came. Warden 1 had returned to its station, deep within a hidden field of dead stars, where time moved slowly and light barely touched. There, it waited. Not sleeping, just watching. Inside, a voice recorded long ago whispered into the quiet ship. Peace is the goal, but peace must be protected. Always. A small light blinked on the control panel. Another system had officially declared independence from Varnak rule. The AI logged the change, another sign that its mission was working. Then the ship powered down its weapons. The stars outside slowly drifted past. Warden 1 did not celebrate. It simply endured. Back in Varnak space, the name Earth became legend. Not for glory, not for destruction, but for what it stopped. And the message that echoed in every corner of the galaxy, carved into walls, printed in scrolls, whispered between species once enslaved. They built their empire on war, but humanity built a ship, That ended it.